Hello, Mr. Castoni's Inside Algebra class and Mr. Duke's Inside Algebra class. We're going to explore Chapter 8, Objective 1. This is exploring polynomials, multiplying and dividing. So here's what we're looking at, guys. We're going to go through the notes a little bit on this video, and then I'm going to have another video after this which will get us started on our homework, and you can check it out. Please, with any questions, you can always email your teacher, and we'll try to get back to you as soon as we can. And don't be afraid to pause the video. Hear it again, watch it twice. It should be lots of fun. Bear with me. It's the first real time I'm doing notes on a video, but we should be okay. So the first thing we're looking at here is an expression with only one term. So that's things like 5x, a negative 3, a 2xy, and a y squared. We call that a monomial. Next, it's the number in front of the variable or by themselves. We've seen these all the time in science class and math all this year. So that could be a 5 or a negative 3, a 2 or 1 or anything like that. We call that a coefficient. Now, when you are dealing with these variables, and it looks like we're going to be doing some multiplying, so when you multiply variables, here's what we're looking at. You will add the exponents. So in this case, here we have an x squared and an x cubed. What we're going to end up doing is adding those together to get x to the 5th. Really what that is that's 2 x's being multiplied and 3 x's being multiplied, so we have 5 x's. You can see it broken down below. Next, here I have x times an x to the 6th. Understand this x has an exponent of 1. So again, we add exponents, so we're looking at x to the 7th. Next one below, I have 4x cubed times x to the 5th. Again, do the same thing we've been doing. You have your variable x, add those exponents, so we get x to the 8th. Now with the coefficient, the 4, and there's nothing over here, we just leave it the same. Just becomes and stays 4. Over here we have x times 6x squared. Again, I start with that 6. There's no other coefficient. Understand there's a 1, so it's 6 times 1, so that's why it stays at 6. And my variable is x. Understand there's a 1 right there, so x to the 1st and x to the 2nd. Add those up, that's x to the 3rd. Continuing here with a couple more examples. Look at the first one. This is 3x squared times 5x to the 3rd. We break these down and put the 3 and the 5 together, and then the x squared and the x to the 3rd together, which multiplying those two gives me a 15, and multiplying those two, we add those exponents, and we get 2 plus 3 to get x to the 5th. So let's try it here. I'm going to talk about the negative 2 times the 7 in one group, and in another group, x to the 4th times x to the 3rd. Let's put our coefficients together, and that's negative 2 times 7. There's a negative 14. And my variable x, when we add those exponents, I get a 7. To our next one down below, I'm looking here, and I see a negative 5x and a 4x to the 7th. I multiply those two guys, and I get negative 5 times 4 in one group. In another group, x to the 1st times x to the 7th. So in the end, I'm going to get negative 20 when I multiply the negative 5 and the 4, and then adding exponents, x to the 8th. Now it gets a little funny down here. I have a coefficient, I have an x, and I have a y. Let's just put them in our groups. Negative 5 times 6, and then x to to the third times x to the fourth. And let's do a third group of y to the second times y to the seventh. So ultimately, it's multiply the coefficients, negative 30, add my exponents for x, 3 plus 4 is 7, and add my exponents for y, 2 plus 7 is 9. So my final answer is negative 30x to the 7th, y to the 9th. Couple more examples. If you see down here, I have 4y squared, and then I have a 6 inside, so let's just put these in our groups. 4 and a 6. And then notice there's no group for the x, so we're just going to keep that guy all by himself right here. And then for the y's, I have a y squared times a y to the 5th. Kind of grouping them off here, I'm going to end up with 4 times 6 is 24, x to the 3rd, and then y to the 2nd, y to the 5th. Add those exponents, I'm going to get y to the 7th. Do the same thing here. Negative 2 times negative 9, x to the 5th times x to the 1st. Remember, an understood 1 right there. And then I have another group, y, calling that y to the 1st times y to the 4th. Negative 2 times negative 9 is a positive 18. This x, adding the 5 and the 1, gives me an x to the 6th, and this y, adding those up, y to the 5th. Now we have a great, big, funny-looking problem here. Take our time and just group them off. Start with that 5 and that 9. Let's put our x's together, x to the 3rd times x to the 1st. In the other side there. We have that y, so y to the 4th times y to the 2nd. And then we even have a z to throw in here, z to the 2nd times z to the 7th. Start multiplying. 5 times 9, 45. And x, add those exponents. There's an x to the 4th. A y, add those exponents. That's a y to the 6th with the 4 plus 2. And z, that 2 plus that 7, gives me a 9. So I hope that was easy enough for you guys. My first video only took me 8 minutes, and there will be more to come. But I hope you guys are enjoying this time together, and online can be really fun. Please reach out if you have any questions. Talk to you soon, guys.